Friends, Cowboy Joe Boo here with the Joe Boo Report. And as always, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, and commenting on the Joe Boo Report. You know, I find it amazing that the Dallas Cowboys are out of the playoffs right now, and you have 4 teams trying to get their way to the Super Bowl. Yet, on first take, the Dallas Cowboys are still the topic of discussion. I sure wish Jerry Jones would keep his mouth shut about Tony Romo. Let's roll the tape.
We got to keep up with the Joneses. Jerry Jones really outdid himself this time. After Dak Prescott took his team to the divisional round of the playoffs, Jerry had this to say about everyone's favorite backup quarterback, Tony Romo.
There are several cards to be played. Don't think for 1 minute if you see something written or something said about what and where Romo is going to be relative to our team, that there's any credibility to it. There's only one that can make that decision, and there's been no decision made. What you saw that veteran quarterback do in Rogers out there, Romo is capable of doing. Those are his kinds of plays. And so we've got a lot to think about here, but that's in the future. But make no mistake about it, to your point, Tony Romo really did yeoman's work in helping this team get to the Super Bowl. He did his part, and he was very capable of going out there and making the kinds of plays that would get it done.
I really don't even know what to say anymore. You can't make this stuff up. Max, what do you make of this?
Jerry Jones is out of his mind if he thinks Tony Romo can do what Arron Rogers did. And I think a lot of Tony Romo. I think, Stephen A., you've underestimated. Many have underrated Tony Romo, who's been an excellent quarterback for years. But he is not Arron Rodgers. A poverty-stricken man's Arron Rodgers, maybe. There is no, forget about a poor man. He is
you went
not,
next level.
Yeah, he is not. Jerry Jones, if you think that Tony Romo is capable of doing what Arron Rodgers does, you are not only wrong, you're delusional. Different level. Incapable of ever doing what you just saw Arron Rodgers do, who's probably the best who ever did it. Tony Romo's really good. He ain't Arron Rodgers good. Tony Romo's also very fragile. And if Jerry Jones thinks that he's going to get a haul for him, I'm here to tell you again, Jerry, you're wrong. You ain't going to get that much for him, because any front office knows that Romo cannot be relied upon to stay upright for 16 games. 3 or 4 games, maybe, given the fact that the back is connected to other parts of the back, and it keeps getting hurt and knocking him out of the season just about every year. So you ain't going to get much for him, and he ain't Arron Rodgers. He is best suited to be the backup on the Dallas Cowboys.
Look, you know, I really didn't want to talk about the Cowboys today. One of my best friends in the world, my former teammate and roommate in college, Mark Turner, irritated me today, very, very much so, because he's a diehard Cowboy fan, and he just reminded me this morning, when I was having a very good morning, of why I absolutely despise Cowboy fans the world over. I think they're delusional and disgusting. They make me want to vomit all the time. You know, I can't stand them because they live in a fantasy world. And here they are, about 48 hours, a little bit more than 48 hours removed from blowing yet another postseason. And here they are talking about next year, we're going to win the Super Bowl title. That's why I can't stand Cowboy fans. This is another reason why. Because Jerry Jones, no regard for Dak Prescott.
This is Jerry. This isn't Cowboy fans.
But no respect. Well, he's a part of them. He's a part of them. He's the one that manipulates them like the puppets on the strings that they are, okay? Constantly giving them hope or whatever, the fools that they are. This is what he does. And so Jerry Jones is the ringleader. Ringling Brothers, Barnum Bailey Circus.
That's over.
That's going, and the Cowboys are going too. It's apropos. But the thing about it is that Jerry Jones, what he does is, he sits up there and he validates yet again what he really, really wanted all along. He wishes Tony Romo was in there. I guarantee you Jerry Jones is sitting back here today and saying, if Tony Romo was our quarterback Sunday, we'd still be playing. That's how he thinks.
They just lost by more than they did.
Listen, because his whole mentality, it's about who he loves and who he has affection for. It's not about who's the most productive. That's, you know, like
but
you said.
But it's so unfair to say that to Dak Prescott.
That's right.
How do you do that?
Listen, I don't know. Dak Prescott is a stud. Dak Prescott is a future star in this league. And no matter how much I feel feel about the Dallas Cowboys fan base. It has nothing to do with how I feel about Dak and Ezekiel Elliott and Dez Bryant for going out there and balling the way that he balled this past weekend. Nothing but mad love and respect for them. But it just goes to show you, Jerry Jones doesn't give a damn about Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones loves himself from Tony Romo. And if he could do anything to put Tony Romo back into that lineup and get away with it, he would do it. Because his whole mentality is, Dak Prescott's got nothing but time. He'll be just fine. He's the future. But if I could sit up there and find a way to get Tony Romo in there now, I would do it. It shows that Stephen Jones and others have stopped him. His intent is what is so glaring here. He doesn't want Dak Prescott to be the man. He wants it to be Tony Romo. Now, he doesn't want to let Tony Romo go.
Maybe I feel okay doing this because I win virtually every debate on this show. But I will say that I will say that you deserve credit for this stance because you've said it from the beginning that Jerry Jones has an unusual and inexplicable attachment to Tony Romo.
That's
and
fair,
that's what was fueling all of this.
Yeah.
And that is so clearly the case at this point. Everyone must acknowledge that that is clearly the case. It is an irrational, next-level attachment to a really good quarterback, but not the greatest quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys franchise, not a Super Bowl winner, not a really big performer in the playoffs or winner in the playoffs, and not the best quarterback on the team right now.
Well, the only couple of points that I'd like to make before we close out this segment is, number one, just because you confuse everybody with your highly elevated vocabulary during an argument doesn't mean you win them. That's
no, I win for other reasons.
No, you don't win them. Number two, and more importantly, in all seriousness, you got to look at it for what it is. And we talk about Tony Romo. I'm not overrating Tony Romo. If I said that Tony Romo was a scrub, I'm disrespecting him. I know Tony Romo can play. I know that 78-49 record during the regular season is real. My issue is that in 10 years as a quarterback, he's won 2 playoff games. And because you won 2 playoff games in 10 years, you played in 6. I'm not talking about the games you were hurt. I'm talking about the games you actually played. You played in 6 playoff games. You've won 2. You never won more than 1 during any postseason. That's a fact.
I want to point one thing out about that.
He's never been in an NFC championship game either. That is not a guy that should be treated by Jerry Jones the way he's being treated.
You thought the Dez Bryant catch was a catch. I actually thought they called that right. Logically, it's a catch, but by the rules, it's not. The point is, if they win that game, it's not 2-4, it's 3-3. And when you're talking about making the playoffs in the NFL, and admittedly, Jerry Jones, before he ceded more control to Stephen Jones, the team wasn't constructed properly most seasons.
Okay.
So to be a play away, essentially, from being 500 in the playoffs with a not always optimally constructed team, not bad. I think his playoff performances, you're underrating them a little bit.
Well, I would say to you is this. When we talk about the catch, let's keep in mind, and I don't remember because I don't have the exact time in front of me, when Dez Bryant had the catch that wasn't a catch, there was still time remaining, and who was quarterback of that team? So in other words, you ended up winning the game, but are we going to really sit here and say that if Dez Bryant had made that catch and ultimately the Dallas Cowboys had scored, that there's no way that Arron Rogers would have taken the team down the field?
Regardless of how you feel about Tony Romo or Dak Prescott, why talk about it publicly? It does no good.
And why
Jeremy,
ever
stop
compare
talking.
anyone to Arron Rodgers? Calm down.